Hail you Warhammer players and welcome to the Yo!
Nope.
Today it is me, Jeremy, all day 40K Nakano with my buddy Joey. How we doing, Joey?
Doing all right.
Where can we find you, Joey?
We can find me over on Instagram. It's Beddingfield Painting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you can always find me over on TikTok at all day 40K. Today's episode is going to be real life data, where we're going to be reacting to the data slate, but specifically after a couple weeks of actual data rather than just taking that strong knee jerk. With the game as new and fresh as it is, with the chapter approved deck, with the fact that we have like new factions and everything all over the place, it's kind of like the Wild West. So what do we have? Before we jump into it, we always like to jump into specifically what we have coming up. So this weekend, I'm going to the PNW Warlords Tacoma Open Prep GT over in Ellensburg, Washington. It's hosted by Bailey Strom over at Windy City Games on June 28th and 29th. Cool thing that I found out at my last tournament is that Joe from War Games Life is also going to be there at this small GT. So maybe, just maybe, I'll get on stream, which would be super cool. But we'll see.
Hope.
Really just depends on if I win round one or get randomly chosen round one.
Well, it's going to be randomly chosen, period. Joe doesn't care about top table until the last round.
That's true. That's true. You're right. So we'll see how it goes.
You're in the running until round 5, unless you're at the top table on round 5, and then you're going to do it.
I guess we'll have to see. There are some very intense opponents there this weekend. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, we've got at least Nick Fromme there, who is very, very good at this game. Now, what about you, Joey? What do you have coming up?
I also have an event this weekend. It's just an RTT, but just here in Coeur d'Alene at Real Deal, it gives me just a little bit of practice before we run into Tacoma, because I think after this, so this weekend being the 28th for Saturday, and Tacoma's the 19th, 18th?
Yeah. 17th, 18th, 19th, I think.
Yeah, so after this weekend, I might get 2 games in. So
nice.
We shall see. I did get one in today, which we can talk about later. So that's good.
Yeah. In fact, let's just tell us what you got going on right now in terms of like hobby and gameplay.
Yeah. So I changed my list around. I think I'm fairly confident on. Like I played a game today. The list felt good. The changes to Reaper's Wager are as amazing as I thought they were. They're fantastic. Just re-rolling once to hit on everything all the time is real good. Turns out that's the thing that Tyranid players were excited about anyway, so I'll take it too.
Yep. It's pretty good.
There's like one unit change that I think that I might make for my list, but what matters is that the list that I tried and what I'm comfortable with is painted. So that's sick. Allows me to continue working on this display board, which is nearly done. I'd say 75% probably. Had a small incident the other night trying to put something on it. Stapled my finger. That was pretty sick.
That's incredible. I've actually yet to staple myself in my life.
That was the first time I've done it. I've cut myself tons of times. I've caught myself fishing, and I've been caught fishing by my dad and all kinds of stuff. But I've never stapled myself. This was not fun. I don't recommend it.
It looks painful.
Yeah. I don't recommend it. It was pretty bad, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All in the name of art, right?
All in the name of art. So tell us about your display board right now, and then tell us, did you win, lose? Like, what'd you play against?
I did win. I played against Dale, his orc list. This is obviously a more streamlined Drukhari list than him and I play pretty often, and I will play Drukhari against him when he asks me to. But like, because it is kind of my favored competitive faction, I tend to stray away from it when I'm playing just kind of pickup games. Or I'll just kind of change my list around because I'm like, I know what he's playing, so I don't want to just bring 45 haywire shots and make you feel real bad. So, but this was streamlined for what I'm planning on playing at Tacoma. It's got a little bit of everything, and so it was Pretty effective, much more effective than the last Drukhari list that I played into him. There's just a couple of units that are better at dealing with Killicans than others are. So we played new supply drop,
which
which
is fun. I love it.
it is. It is significantly more healthy. It is so much easier to plan for, and like it kind of just happens. You just play the game, and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess that one's gone, and then oh no, that one's gone. Great, we're in the middle. And it was kind of one of those. It was one of those classic games that was like it's close until it's not. And so like round one was super. I mean, round one he was winning by like 2 points. Round two he was winning by like 1 point. I went first, so that's annoying. But yeah, and then it was like neither of us had scored primary, and then round three I finally scored primary. I scored 10 points, and then he didn't score primary, and that was the start of the swing. And from there, it just snowballed, and the game was pretty much over. I mean, on 4, the game was over.
Okay, yeah.
Which happens. Yeah. I put my unit of 6 grotesques back in the list. They are still just as effective at standing in the middle and being a tar pit as they have ever been.
Yeah, especially for a mission like supply drop, just having that meaty unit is such a good thing to have.
Yep. Yeah, and I love it. It was nice to kind of like try to get back in the Drukhari headspace, because it is a very different play style that I have to like remind myself to return to and play differently. There were a couple of things that I wanted to do on like turn 1 and more so on turn 2. It was like, I don't need to do that right now. I need to remind myself how to play this properly if I'm actually going to do things. So like the 6-pack of grotesque didn't move. We did terrain layout 2, and so they were in and it was tipping point. We did Bravo. So they sat in that like diagonal piece of terrain that's like half in your deployment zone, half out of it. They sat on that wall and just waited until like they didn't touch the middle until turn 3. And then
Wow. Okay.
they existed until his turn 5. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to experience New Call the Horde, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's super free into orcs.
He only has one target, which is the 20 grots with Zodgrod.
Oh, okay.
So it's a weird. It's a hard unit to take it.
Yeah, unless you have something that you like, you throw something like Lilith at it, like what?
Sure, if I throw Lilith at it, I can pick it up. But
yeah,
yeah, it was a. I have the answers for it because I have so many flamers, but it was also like he played it correctly, and he had Zodgrod behind a wall. And so it was like, okay, well, as I'm killing all these grots, like it got to the point that there was Zodgrod and 3 grots, but Zodgrod's behind the wall. I was like, well, that means the next thing that I shoot at you, I have to kill Zodgrod, because if I kill these 3 grots, I will not target him anymore. So it makes the math really weird. It's not impossible. It's still, especially for my list with anti-infantry and flamers and all that, but it makes my like target order, like my order of operations changes and matters significantly more than it used to, which that was interesting. And he died on like the last couple, like it was the venom cannon, or the splinter cannon shots from the venom is what killed him.
nice.
And like that was it. It was like 5, and he failed 4 of them, and that's 8 damage, and that killed Zodgrod, and that was it.
Dang.
Like had he if he had lived, I didn't have anything else that could have shot him. So it's interesting. Display of Might. I drew Display of Might. Display of Might's super good.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty free for my list with like 28 units.
Yeah.
It's pretty free, but
right.
it is good. Yeah.
Cool.
It was good. Overall, still really like the changes. He did get a challenger card on round 4, and he did score it, which was nice. He technically got a challenger card on 5, but he didn't have any models left. So,
gotcha. Okay, how's the display board coming along?
It's coming along. I am waiting. I had to reorder some of my basic material because I ran out. So I've got just those upper level rocks that I need to cover in the rock flock mixture that I use. And then I have to do all of this. Well, not all. I've done like one wall worth of spikes because I wanted to see what it was going to look like. So I've done that. I need to finish all of the spikes, which is going to take a bit of time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
especially when it comes to the little stuff.
yeah, luckily there's not a ton of little stuff, but there is a lot of spikes in general, so I got to do all that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay. That's awesome, man. We'll hopefully get a picture here.
Yeah, I can send some.
Yeah, send it over as soon as you can. Okay, cool. As far as my hobby goes, I finished the line. I'm very proud of my line. I think it looks
He is beautiful.
fucking awesome. I got a lot of compliments over the past weekend, which was great. Otherwise, I'm not hobbying anything right now. Just thinking about what to hobby next, which might be some assault centurions because drill fists are cool.
They are.
And they're interesting in the Wrath of the Rock. That said, let's talk about what I did this weekend, which was I went to the Mountain West Open, which is a Utah tournament out in Provo. I got to go hang out with Natalie Hill, and I got to meet a lot of really cool players. Number one, it was like heavily densely populated by the XBZ folks. There was like 30 something of them there.
Good lord.
So, which is awesome because the Xenos Betting Zoo guys are really intensely good players for the most
yes,
part.
They are. Yes, they are.
Oh, unfortunately, I didn't get any games into them. I had some games into the team Barely Battle Ready, which it was a cool. They're a cool team. They're super nice guys. And then just I got to play with some newer players as well. Big shout out to Green Banner. It was a Green Banner event. It was phenomenal. It was held at the Provo Convention Center. Obviously, Jason Kicker and Steven are all awesome dudes. And if you can find yourself at a Green Banner event, you should go. Specifically, coming up in November, the Cali Cup, they're trying to break a record. And last I heard, they were about 10 to 15 away from breaking that record of attendance. It's also known for being one of the best events, period, end of story. So go check it out if you can. But let's talk about the event itself, my experience there. So my first game was into the Black Templars. And my opponent's name is Nate. And Nate is fairly new to the game. So he's only spent a year playing the game, and he gets to play maybe once every couple of weeks.
Sure.
And he was playing, a Black Templar list that felt a little fluffier than good. It really wasn't a challenge. It was 96-44 win. I got a pretty cool picture of Helbrecht and the Lion battling it out.
Okay.
Which I'll go ahead and post up here in a second. And he kills the Lion because he charged the Lion when he was at 2 wounds.
Yep, that'll do it.
He's going to go down at that point, especially into Helbrecht and Sword Bros. So Nate, I got to teach Nate a few things, helped him figure out the game a little bit more. And I think he might have went 0-6 for the tournament. But it was a genuine pleasure to sit down and play with him. Before I get further, I should probably talk about my list though, huh? So what did I bring? What did I do? I brought the Wrath of the Rock, playing Dark Angels. I had Azrael, of course, because 2 CP a turn is really good. A Chaplain in Terminator armor with ancient weapons that gives him the additional 2 strength, the additional AP, and the additional damage, which makes him 8-2-3. Hanging out with a bunch of sword-based Deathwing Knights with +1 to wound makes them very, very capable at killing most things they touch. And then we have a Lieutenant with a combi weapon because you never leave home without one. Lion L. Johnson, of course, coming in. I wanted to see how heavy of a paperweight he was. We'll talk more about that as we go. I had an Intercessor squad to hold down the home base. I had 2 sets of 3-man Sendevs, which are potentially one of my favorite units in the game. 3 Deathwing Knights, 2 with maces. Yeah. 3 Deathwing Knights, 2 with maces, 1 with swords. And the swords hang out with the Chaplain, of course. The other 2 were unled. And then we had 2 sets of scouts because, again, another unit you don't leave home without. And then 1 5-man of Sternguard veterans to keep Azrael company. And overall, I think the list is pretty good. So for the event, I went 4-2. which for me is really good. Like I did 5-3 at Tacoma last year, but there was a bye in there. So I consider this my best result,
Yeah, I mean
mostly
four and
because I
two is
went.
fantastic. It wasn't like it was a small GT. It was 120 something people, right? Like that's
Yeah, it was 100. I think 19 active. I think 10 people dropped. Um, which I mean it felt really cool because I went 2 wins on the first day, which I think is the first time at a GT I've gone 2 wins on the first day, because I very commonly go like 3-2 at GTs, and it's like win one during the day first day and then win two on the second day when everyone's tired. This one felt like, I was in. It felt like every game, except for
mm-hmm.
the one I'm about to jump into. So my second game was into Blood Angels, and this was into Thomas. Yeah, Thomas. He was playing Angelic Inheritors, which is perhaps I look, lag is really strong. And for the really like hardcore melee centric minded players, I think lag is the right choice. But I think for like a really strategic player, AI
is better.
is better. It's just so good. The
It's so
amount
good.
of rules that those units have is crazy. Now here's the thing. I definitely could have competed in this game because Deathwing Knights are absurdly good. Um, but what I did is I made a huge error on turn, I believe, 3. No, on turn 2. So turn 2, I brought my Deathwing Knights in on, and this is also Scorched Earth, mind you. I bring my Deathwing Knights in on the bottom side of the map rather than in the middle of the map. So I spread myself out where I had like the top one of the top ruins covered, and then the two in the south covered, and then just like a huge channel in the very open into my deployment zone and into like some like my shooting units, my dev sense. Lamarty's filled that hole, and I spent the rest of the game on my back foot. My sword knights did nothing for pretty much the entire game. I should have a really good match into Blood Angels, specifically because all their damage is reduced by 1, and it's almost a solely damage to army, I think, except for the Sangard. I think they're damage 3. But even then, like that's something I could deal with because of all the sheer amount of invulns that I have access to, um, and Armor of Contempt, which more or less shuts them down. So had I been focused on what my goal for the entire tournament was, which is just score your primary, just score 50 primary a game. That was my entire goal, was to try like screw my secondaries, just score primary. Hold down the fort, score the points you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first game I strayed, and I lost 54-91. So a true shellacking in the end. He was able to jump on my home, burn my home. He burned one on turn 4. So like, yeah, he had a really good game. He had a really good tournament overall. He drew into Ben Jurek like in his next round, which means
Wow.
Thomas is a really good player.
Yeah.
And that was a very, very fun game. So going 1-1 into round 3. My third round was into Thousand Suns, where I got to
Delicious.
play Sam. Yes. And I'll tell you what, Dark Angels into Thousand Suns, love that matchup. First time playing this game where I'm like, yes, give me Thousand Suns. Because the thing that Dark Angels do better than any other Marine group in the game is that they can just stop incoming mortal wounds. And it turns out that most of the T Suns detachment, probably not the mutant one, but most T Suns detachments just deal mortal wounds. And when most of your army has a 4 up against them, it severely hampers what they can do. And that's what I did. Now, Sam has only been playing for roughly a year, so he was my second opponent who didn't have a ton of experience. He was very sharp for only a year's worth of experience. And he didn't quite have the most ideal Grand Coven list, but it was very close to my other T Suns opponent later on, who had lots and lots, years and years of T Suns experience, like decade or so of T Suns experience.
Right.
So I win that game pretty handily. I win this one 80-58. And the Lion was an absolute hoss this game. He killed whatever he touched. He never
Yep.
took wounds.
Nope.
And Magnus was alive pretty much the entire game until the lion decided to put an end to that. He just set -1 to damage on Magnus.
On strength 4 doesn't, or on damage 4 does not matter.
Yeah, it was absurd. But against the Deathwing Knights, he stood there forever, which is great. If you want to lock up Magnus with 250 points, okay, no problem. So yeah, that was a fun game. Sam and I kept in touch for the rest of the tournament. On day 2, he would always come check out my games because for the rest of the tournament, I ran all the way till the end of each game because me and my opponents were all pretty sweaty for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep. And then into round 4, I played what felt like the hardest game of the tournament for me, which was into Necrons. Now, let me tell you this: if Dark Angels are good into T-Suns, Necrons are good into Dark Angels. Specifically, if they have the Silent King. So the Silent King has a rule that as long as you're within 6 inches of him, you ignore modifiers. The entire detachment rule for Wrath of the Rock is -1 to wound at if your strength is higher than my toughness. Now, Necrons, all of their guns are strength 100. And then, which makes it so that normally they wound everything they touch on 2s. And what should happen, what should happen is I mess that math up with a little bit of, you wound on 3s and 4s for the most part. And that's what makes the Wrath of the Rock possible. Also, Deathwing Terminators, or Deathwing Knights specifically, have -1 damage. And that doesn't matter when you have the Silent King. He turns literally all of it off. So if there is one gripe I have with the detachment, it is the fact that there are a couple of detachments out there that just kind of put it in the dirt. That said, I lost this game by 4 points. I had him jailed on turn 2 with all of my Terminators. With the lion running around being an absolute menace wherever he could be. But I slowly lose the game because I just couldn't keep up with the amount of damage. Like had I not had the damage reduction, or had I had my damage reduction, and had I had the toughness, I win that game a lot. I could have won this game. I know I could have. All I had to do was make one decision in turn 3, and I don't get locked out of primary, or one extra primary score for jailing him for a turn, and I win the game. So it was close.
Yeah.
So even with the detachment being totally screwed by a single unit's aura, and he respawns so many Miniers, we kept it close just because you are able to kind of recklessly run your army forward and get stuck in.
Yep.
Just because
Which
of the resilience.
Not a thing that you can normally do.
Yeah. With Space Marines, you have to play super cagey. You do you still have to play smart with your Dark Angels. Don't get me wrong, you can't just be an idiot. But you have to make choices when it comes to charges. All right, this is the one where I got to have that extra CP for the reroll just in case. I have to make sure that I'm in extreme castle mode and that I'm dominating primary as best I can. And it was Terraform, so that played a huge role. And then as far as challenge cards go, none of us scored challenge cards the entire game. It was within.
I was gonna say the game is close enough that they probably didn't come up.
Yeah, we were within 2 to 4 points the entirety of the game. So it was a really good game. Ricky is a store owner out of SoCal. Genuinely one of the nicest men I've ever met. And we were talking and I'm like, but wait. He's like, nah, this is why I bring the Silent King. I'm like, I get it. So
okay.
Ricky was dope. And that was a very good game. And I'm of the players, of the opponents to lose against, I certainly don't mind losing against that guy. My 5th game was into Votann. Now, this is another army that should just clean me off the board because I have 9 units, technically 11, right? But I have only so many units that are impactful in the game on a regular basis, which are 3 sets of Deathwing Knights, plus your, plus the lion, and they were all double grudged immediately. So I'm turning off his army rule, he's turning off my army rule, but he has 2 times the amount of units that I do and firepower that does damage 4. So we play this. The only reason I win this game is because we're playing supply drop.
Yes.
Yeah, supply drop.
I also think importantly he has a billion damage 1,
also that,
which is also good.
Yeah, and then and just the sheer like the ability to hit as hard as he did. My army was getting picked up really hard. It was a miracle I won this game. I won by 2 points because the lion came in at the end and killed whatever he looked at.
What a champion!
And I took that point. And the Centurions being able to get onto the point, another huge thing, because they're OC too. Like, I think that's one of the most like disregarded things about Centurions is the fact that they are OC2. Like, they are a body that can stand on an objective, and with -1 to wound, if your strength is higher than they are, at a 2-up save, they are more or less a Ballistic Dreadnought with better options.
Yep. And infantry being a not detrimental keyword.
Exactly. They can run through walls, and it's just so good. And then my final game was again into Thousand Suns, and this was my second Grand Coven of the tournament. The list was actually quite similar, except he didn't have Ahriman, he didn't have the crazy like I'll do 27 wounds to you enhancement. He did have the Umberlific Crystal, he did have Bogoats, he had Magnus running around, of course, 3 sets of rubrics, couple of a Annihilator, a Predator Annihilator, and then like 2 of the Mutalith Vortex beasts. And it's just like Dark Angels Wrath of the Rock specifically punishes Grand Coven. Specifically Grand Coven.
Yeah.
So Mike and I have an awesome game. He was like me, but like just physically a smaller person. He was a little shorter. He was a little skinnier, but he had a smaller beard. But like you put us next to each other, it was a weirdly physically similar human being on the other side. We played a super fun game. He had challenge guards the entirety of the game, and I still won comfortably here. Roughly a 21 point victory overall. Whereas in the previous game against Votan, I had challenge cards the entire game, and between challenge cards and supply drop, that's the reason I won. With this one, even with him getting challenge cards quite literally every turn, he couldn't keep up. So yeah, that was my tournament. 4-2 overall, 26th place out of 120 people. Feels really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that was my event. I would love to go back to Utah for an event. It was super fun. Really cool people. Like, the teams are great. Big shout out to Lightly Salted. They're just a really cool team of people. Everybody's super nice. And of course, Nat. Thanks, Nat. Oh, and also, huge congratulations to Natalie Hill for being promoted to a captain of Lightly Salted. Somebody step down, or there's a huge announcement at the event, and make sure that if you do see Natalie, you address her as Captain Nat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Captain Hill, I believe it would
Captain
be.
Hill, yes. Captain Hill, Godspeed. Anywho, that's everything there. Any questions about the tournament all in regards to
No, I mean, I think that checks out. It's good to see that, like, we had briefly talked about the Lion, and we had talked about this detachment, and you took what is essentially a first draft and performed like this. Like, one blowout is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like three of your wins are pretty close, but that's healthy. So
yeah,
like you've got six games of fucking Warhammer.
Yeah. The detachment is fun to play. It is a puzzle for your opponent to solve. It gives you, and there's just so many ways to play it. Like, there are people running around with 18 inner circle companions and librarians, like, just murdering.
Sure.
And then you got people running a ton of Hellblasters and people running Inceptors. Like, there's so many cool ways to run this attachment because it's really well rounded. It does feel like it's playing Gladius, just like not quite as good. But you get the benefits of playing these super powered Dark Angels like units, and it feels pretty awesome. Like, honestly, like I just, it was a simplified game of Warhammer that really let me focus on the strategy and enhancement use, or not enhancement, but stratagem use, more so than focusing on like all the crazy tricks I can do when I move forward and stand in places and create problems for my opponent, which some of them can solve. And like positioning, it really I guess the biggest stressor is positioning, and to convince yourself to not take the bait of jumping in and spreading yourself out, because the moment you do that is the moment you lose with this attachment, it feels like.
It's fair. Yeah, and I think it's, you talked about like not focusing on the tricks that you can do, because I think it's like, it's so easy to look at detachments and fall into that of like, there's so many tricks that I can do, and then in the game you just want to do them because you can, and it's so easy to fall into that of like, I'm going to do this because it's a trick that I can do and it's going to be cool, and there's probably something more effective you could have done.
Yeah, almost always.
And whether that wins or loses you the game is neither here nor there. It's just, it's such an easy like trap to fall into, and just not having to worry about that and just being able to sit down and play Warhammer is that, I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it has all the most standard Marine tricks when it comes down to it. The sauce of Wrath of the Rock comes down to two stratagems. Number one, Leon in aggression, is that charge onto an enemy unit that walks onto an objective prevents people from trying to steal primary from you. If they can't shoot you off the objective, they will do everything. They will never touch it, because Deathwing Knights will get in there and go to Chop City. But the other one is the advanced shoot and charge. Advanced shoot and charge is what gives DevSense life in this detachment, because all I do is put them behind a wall and then wait, a wall that is just next to a line that I can walk out and just shoot something on an objective. It's so simple. And then
It's
if
so
I
good.
need to, give them the plus, like I can advance and charge and then +2 strength to their ranged weapons, pushing them to strength 14 and strength 11 on their 2-gun profiles, so that even knights have to be super wary of an all infantry arm.
Which is good because you're gonna be running into that. So,
oh yeah, Tacoma's going to be Knight City. Is going to be my assumption. It's going to be 100 Knights players.
probably gonna be a couple. Yeah, there's gonna be a few.
Okay, so now that we've gone over currently what's going on, we want to talk next about hopping into the data slate. And this is going to be a little, like, obviously we're not going to read the data slate. If you guys don't know what's in it yet, go read it. But we are going to be talking about the armies that are like in the top, and how the data slate is affecting everything. So hopefully it's a little bit more interpretive of what's going on rather than just people read what happens. So let's unpack first. So if you guys go to Stat Check, you can see that it was updated today. Let's unpack first the Leagues of Votann and the fact that they are on top of the world at a 57% overall win rate for like the past 2 weeks. And they're also, they were pretty high in the weekend as well. Actually, no, they didn't have a great weekend. Sorry. But overall, Votann is having a really high win rate right now. And the only data slate change that they actually received was they get to clown car their units with a bunch of little dudes in it.
Yes, which actually is a very important change.
Yes, it is massively important. However, when I played, people are still playing the Tim Schneider list.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Schneider's list has nothing in terms of putting those into transports.
Yep, no reason to.
So, why do you think Votann are currently kind of like resurging?
I think with so many, especially like with so many vehicles, and like we can put certain armies aside, but for the most part, with so many vehicles, knights are already good. So you've got knights being good. You've got you've got whatever Emperor's Children that are running your
All of the
rhinos so that they can get
transports.
so that they can get everything in position. You've got Gladius Marines that are running Ballista Dreads and whatever Redemptor Dreads and Repulsors or Gladiators or whatever the person decides to bring. There's a lot of vehicles out there. There's about to be more vehicles out there as Knights and Chaos Knights get more representation than they already have, and get better than they already were, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And people can complain about whatever toughness reductions they have, and you can go complain about that in a corner by yourself because I don't care.
Yeah, you got like 4 more wounds per night.
The
Go
amount
away.
of changes, the amount of buffs that they got, it's worth it. It doesn't matter.
Absurdly good. Yeah.
Toughness 10 on a dog at 140 points was absurd anyway, so I don't care. So the amount of vehicles that are out there, like Votan are just so good at killing that. Almost entirely, with the exception of like 20 plus wound vehicles. They can look at 2, sometimes 3 vehicles every turn and just go, I don't want to look at that anymore. And it happens. They're so good. And then, like, the inverse is still true that against infantry and things like Thousand Suns, they've got, like, they still have damage 4 and damage 3 and plenty of things to take out Terminators if somebody decides to bring Terminators, or take out Magnus, which is important, and everything else, like, their Terminators can kill whatever they want because they have 7 billion damage one-shots. So, like, they're so efficient, and yeah, they don't have a ton to play the game with, so if you can deal with them, things fall apart pretty quickly. But also, like, their entire army scouts, which is nutty. So if they really want to, they can jail you. They're just so good. The only thing that they even like think about struggling into is monsters, and we're just not seeing that right now. So they kind of just get to have a heyday for a little bit until monsters come back.
Yeah,
Which,
really.
does that even happen? Who knows?
I mean, it might with the new Tyranid builds, but
Right, but even then, like, Tyranids aren't necessarily the monsters that they have a hard time killing because they have a bajillion AP and +1 wound.
true. But I
So
know that Drew actually has problems with Monster Mash Tyranids. It's one of the
right,
worst
but
things that he
I guess
goes into.
that is also part of it too. Is that most Tyranids are not monster mash.
Right. Yeah. Most Tyranids don't do that. But, if you're running in Votan, like, could be potentially kind of snuffed out by
Mm-hmm.
any
Yeah, and like an
monster.
unfortunate round 1 Crusher Stampede can really mess them up. But like, barring that, they really don't struggle into anything. Monster Mash Demons really is not a thing. So they really just don't. As it stands right now, everything that exists in the meta, they just don't really care about.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the meta the way it is, like like not necessarily what's good in the meta, but what's popular in the meta,
Yes.
it is all the chaos factions plus vehicles. Like you said, knights and all the CSM is just everywhere, and it is a Votan wet dream out there. And that's why their win rates are so high, because they just match up into those things really well. And that's that.
Every single Votan player has 12 Pioneers, and that screens out the entire midboard, and CSM Possessed will never pass the midboard. They're going to charge Pioneers, kill them, feel bad about it, and then die.
Yep. That's wild.
And then the Votan player will proceed to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, it's really, they're good. Votan is really good right now, and they've always been good the entire edition. It was just there were very few people playing them, and now that Tim Schneider has popularized at least a Votan build, people are bringing it in, and it just slots perfectly into what is strong right now, and that's that.
Yeah. And that was like, there was so much of that in the beginning of like trying to really nail down, like, is the build still 9th edition? Do we need 6 Sagittars? Do we need 3 land forts? Like, what are you trying to actually land on? And it seems pretty figured out now, and it is just wildly effective.
Yeah. All right, let's hop into the next faction, and that would be Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns is number 2 on the charts in terms of stat checks overall, and number 2 on the win rate for the weekend. Just winning a lot of games, not taking home any events this weekend, but we're getting really healthy Hexwarp Thrallband numbers, really healthy Warp Melt Pack numbers. In fact, all of their detachments are winning well because people still kind of get overwhelmed by Thousand Suns. It's a brand new book. Their rules are kind of wacky.
And I mean, they're still good at what they've always been good at, which is like, and it's like, if Thousand Suns are good at anything, they are good at a damage, like a damage stat check effectively. If you as the opponent walk up to the Thousand Suns player and say, can you do enough damage? Their answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're good at anything, it's that.
It took his entire army, but he was able to kill the Terminator, the Deathwing Knight with Chaplain Brick with everyone, including the fight phase. But he did do it. So, yes, even with kind of a broken rule set into you specifically, they are so good. There's really nothing to talk about in terms of points or actual data slate changes. They're just new people. All the T Suns diehards are going to be playing them. I just really genuinely hope they get a throttle on that goat detachment sooner rather than later, because the mutant detachment, once people get that hobbied up, will be a genuine menace.
It definitely has the ability to be. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely does.
Let's talk about some other big winner from all these changes recently, and that would be the big winner from the weekend. And if we take a look at StatChat, coming in at their highest winning percentage overall in a very long time, the Tau are back. And how do we feel about that, Joey?
I love it. I said it. Last week that their army rule was just, or 2 weeks ago, because I decided to get food poisoning last week, so that didn't happen. Their entire army rule was overhauled and by overhauled I mean it was reversed to what it was in 9th edition, and that's really good, because what it is, or what it was previously, was annoying and not as good. So now the army rule is better and simpler, which is just better in all terms of the word. And it's very classic Kalyan that we have that's doing really, really well. Montcalf still did surprisingly well, and Retaliation Cadre is just generically good, and we kind of see that with a pretty healthy number. So yeah, it's classic Kalyan Tau. It's even more classic than it has been this edition. It's exactly what you would expect it to be, and it is very effective.
It's just easier to figure out now, which is awesome. And at the Mountain West GT I was at, that's who won it at mine. Durante, he goes by Glenn, Glenn Sear. And he is a faction specialist, and he's just running around with a pile of tanks and just blowing people off the board, scoring.
I will say I don't understand his list name, but that's okay. Yeah, so his list name was Railguns Have 2 Shots or something. It was something about Railguns having 2 shots.
Yeah, Railguns have 2 shots and ignore mods.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, well, that is true. Broadside Railguns have two shots, and you give them the piece of equipment to ignore modifiers, so that makes sense. And so I opened his list, waiting. I was like, okay, dude, this is gonna be 9 broadsides. Like, this is gonna be fucking sick. He has 1 railgun in his entire list, and it's on a hammerhead, which does neither of the things that are in his list name. It does not ignore modifiers, and it only has 1 shot. So the list name is kind of silly in reference to what his list is, but his list is very effective.
Apparently it's just all a bait. It's just like, yeah, that's what you think is going to happen, but it turns out I have a lot of Kroot.
Yeah, turns out I got Kroot and I got Riptides. It is a very classic Kalyan. It's 3 Riptides. It's Kroot for screening. It's Piranha for actions, and it's everything you would expect it to be. I think he's 2 Skyrays, 1 Hammerhead. It's exactly what it needs to be.
Yep. I think you can expect Tau to be a problem just because the shooting is still very good and it's just easier to do now. And you can never overlook really strong shooting. It's why Marines are consistently good. They just have more stuff, like a lot more stuff. And
Tau, yeah.
Tau just has so much more things. So
Yeah.
Tau's in a great place.
I mean, that does come from, let's see, I have the field manual open. I know obviously they got their big data slate change. I don't think they had anything huge for points. They had 0 point changes.
Yeah, just a simple rule change is all they needed.
So,
which is crazy. Fantastic. And then there's like some detachment changes, but like even then, it just needed to be not restrictive anymore. And I think that's it. Just make the detachments make them be able to do things without having to like think their way out of a box.
Oh, not okay. So here it is. This is an enormously impactful change. So Kalyan, which surprise, got a change to its detachment rule. It was previously from the third battle round on, you get ranged weapons with Tau Empire have sustained 1. It still has that. It gained, in addition, while a unit is a guided unit, so your rule, if you have guided and you are shooting as a guided unit, you ignore modifiers to the ballistic skill and hit roll of the spotted target.
Oh, I love that. That's great because it doesn't mess with mine.
Right. And it's nothing else. It's not hit or wound. It's not egregious. It's any and all modifiers to the ballistic skill and or modifiers to the hit roll.
So which is really good at killing Death Guard.
Which is what they need because what Tau hate the most is -1 to hit.
Yep. As a 4-up army.
Yep. Like -1 to hit, they just can't deal with. And so now, I mean, that makes triple Riptide make a lot more sense. If you've got 3 Riptides that are shooting damage 4 and ignoring your modifiers, then yeah, they're killing it.
And they dropped the split fire stipulation, so good for Tau.
Yep.
Tau's gonna
it's
be
fantastic.
Good now. I don't think they're going to be dominant. I do think they're going to be good, and I'm happy for Tau. Good for them.
I think they are
pass all edition.
They are like I would put them in the top 10. I think they're like top of mid-table, bottom of top table situation.
Okay.
I would not be surprised if we commonly see them in top 8, top 16 situations.
That would make sense. I mean, the Tau specialists are generally very good.
That's the other problem too, is that the Tau specialists are phenomenal players.
Yep. They just know the geometry. Little Napoleon.
The Firesight team got better. The Pathfinder team got better.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Basically, so every unit that had a special rule for when they were spotted something, all of them changed because they had to change with the army rule, and that's fine.
It's awesome. Good for them.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a Tau player.
Speaking of good times to be a faction specialist, let's talk about the Imperial Knights, who have been awesome for like the last 3 months or so. This was their last weekend as a index faction.
Yep.
And they had a great weekend, like 5th place overall, and they're coming in with a 56% win rate since the beginning of this patch. And they're about to get a lot better. Like a lot better.
I do, yeah. I mean, yeah, 56% win rate with, more specifically, 37 players over the weekend. And 11 of those 37, so almost an entire third, went XO or X1.
Which is insane.
So, fantastic.
Yeah. I don't like super healthy knight metas. It feels weird. I am wondering how the changes will affect them because with the sheer volume of wounds, like that's hard to punch through. It's hard to deal. How many wounds does a dog have now or an armiger have now?
They got +2.
So up to 14 wounds at T9.
Yes, I can actually look because I have the Chaos Knight, which is the same change. Codex data sheets. Let me see a dog. There's one. Yeah, T9 14 wounds.
T9 14 wounds with a 5 up at range is hard to punch through. Period. End of story. And you could bring more because Imperial Knights got like some of the most egregious point drops I've ever seen.
Yeah, they did.
Like absurd. Canis Rex is like what, 380 points now?
He is, in fact, 380 points. More importantly, he went down 70 points.
Yeah, a 70 point drop for a unit taken in almost every knight list. How
like
dare you?
For comparison, the last 70 point drop that we saw was Shalaxi, and that came with an enormous rules change. And that didn't happen to Canis.
No, Canis,
not in the same way.
Yeah, he is objectively the same thing, and now you're going to see we're going to see like 150 Canis Rexes at.
I think he's objectively the best Titanic unit in the game.
Yes, there's nothing that competes with him. His damage profile is insane, both shooting and melee, and his mechanics with that idiot who falls out of the cockpit is just absurd. So that was a miss, a big miss by Games Workshop, and I really hope they fix this soon. Yeah, obviously, like this is just me overreacting.
Yeah.
But
hey, and that's okay. Get after it.
I'm just like I hate it. I think it's objectively a terrible choice. But we shall see what the armature change does.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what's not better is a bunch of T11 knights running, like 6 T11 knights running around the field with 30 wounds.
It won't be 6, but yeah,
right. But still, that's like a really crazy number to get through.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk about the next mistake of the data slate, which is Death Guard. Death Guard got no points drops.
They didn't. They or increases.
Yeah, no points increases, not a single one. And Death Guard are winning at a 55%. They have an extremely healthy player base. Every single one of their detachments doesn't suck. In fact, every single one of their detachment is winning from 52% up to 73% over the course of the last couple of weeks.
The exception of the demon one.
Sure. Okay. There's one that isn't perfect. And that was just from this past weekend, right?
Yes.
So wild that they can look at that and be like, you know what? They don't need point drops at all or point increases at all. It just feels backwards. What do you think?
I think it's strange. Their win percentage is healthy, right? So they have to be careful because any change is going to be largely impactful in one way or the other. I understand them being very annoying to play against as somebody who plays almost exclusively melee armies. I get it. However, the other side of that is that we just had Tau being one of the biggest changes that we've seen this edition. And so with the change to Tau, the release of Thousand Suns, and the release of Chaos Knights and Knights, we've seen 4 phenomenal shooting factions.
That's true.
And they will eat Death Guard alive.
That's fair.
So if they change them too much, then Death Guard just like gains even really like they already those 4 matchups are already hard for them to win. And then now they're going to end up with those 4 matchups being harder to win because they have less pieces.
That's fair.
So it's a really weird balancing act for that army, I think, right now.
It is. But I think it punishes armies like, the other newer armies hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Space Wolves, obviously, right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
We have our not the Death Guard, but our Emperor's Children that have also recently hit, who got nerfed to pieces. I guess we can blame John Lennon for that. Because everything he plays gets nerfed.
So you can see that too, right? You've got, when you have such big hitters like that, right? We've got Emperor's Children that were concerning. They've been nerfed, but they were concerning. They're still a very good melee faction. We've got Blood Angels that are performing exceptionally well. We've got Space Wolves that are coming out. Like, there has to be that counter to them melee wise, and it is Death Guard.
Yeah.
So it's fair. Such a, like I said, it's such a weird balancing act for that army, and I'm not sure how they would change it. And I think right now they're not sure how to change it, and so they just didn't touch it.
I hope that they come in with some well thought out nerfs for the army, whether it's just even like a 10%, drop a unit from the army effectively
I
type
think
of
it
nerf.
might. Maybe it's just like some small here and there rules changes,
Yeah,
and
a few small.
they could leave points alone.
Yeah,
Probably.
just don't do the triple nerf. Like, do
Yeah.
something, but not the triple. Let's try that. Like, let's take
Yeah.
progressive
Never the
steps
triple.
toward it. Yeah. Okay, now for the true sin. The worst thing that they did and have done for a long time
We're
is
so negative
Necrons.
today.
Necrons. How fucking dare you drop the points of Wraiths again? Excuse me? That is some of the biggest bullshit I've ever seen. Wraiths were the scourge of the early part of this game. So as soon as like Eldari was like balanced, it was like, oh, here's Canoptek Court. Hate your life. And I played into 18 Wraiths so many times this edition that like I'm salty. I'm genuinely salty about them just opening the door for them to come back into the game. And now we have Necrons running around with Starshatter Arsenal, which is a very good detachment, with 12 Wraiths running around with their 9 inches of movement, run through walls, pistols that do dev wounds, fly over mortals that only one model has to fly over. The fact that they, I think you can. Oh, you can't scout move them. That's Canoptek Court, or
you can infiltrate them though. Not in Star Shatter, but
but in Star Shatter, where they're primarily played, where they're coming in with like a 58% win rate right now. Just like Necrons have been good for 2 years. Maybe we nerf them.
The issue I think there is that they have been good for 2 years, but they have not been broken for 2 years.
True. But why should they let an army be in the top 5 for that long?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. And I understand the gripe of Necrons. They are historically annoying to play against. It's a double-edged sword, right? Where previously Star Shatter was very good, but they had almost no way to play primary. They were phenomenal at killing shit, but they just couldn't play primary. And now they have Wraith units back, so they get to play primary and also kill shit. So, because even not being able to play primary did not stop them from winning games. It stopped them from running away with games.
Correct.
So, I'm not 100% sure how this is really going to shake out. I do hope that it stays healthy and doesn't pass that 58. 58 is very, very good, but hesitant. I'm hesitant to see where that goes.
But even without that, you have Annihilation Legion coming with 57% because you have the unkillable Necron brick that regenerates.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that they have spent 2 years in the sun. Not to mention the 2 years of night they spent in the sun as well. Like, at some point, you got to pull the belt out, and they need a good belting.
That's fair. I get it. I don't know, because I don't want to see. I don't personally want to see anything nerfed into the ground. I would love to see every army be competitively viable.
But I don't disagree with the fact that every army anyone should be able to bring an army to the table, but it's been too long that Necrons have been on the upper half of that coin. Is all I'm going to say.
That's fair.
So, especially with as healthy a player base as that faction is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that healthy of a player base, perhaps that number should be smaller. If you take a look at Marines, who are still, in my opinion, very good, but they have an ass win rate because of the sheer size of the player base, because there's just so many people who play them who suck at the game, or they want to play their fluffy lists, right?
Yep.
So
let's see.
There's something that they can do there, and the answer is not make rates cheaper. They were fine. They didn't.
Yeah, it's almost certainly not make rates cheaper. Let's look at. I do want to see what I'm trying to figure out. I'm on stat check. I was trying to find their over rep.
Oh, their over rep?
Oh, there it is. So, well, that's Star Shatter in general, or that's Star Shatter. I don't care about that. Their, I mean, their overall over rep is only 0.98, which is healthy, but their go back. Their Star Shatter over rep is 1.7, which is pretty wild.
That's insane. Like, that's dangerous territory. So for those of you who don't know what over rep is, it is the percentage of the percentage of players that make it into the top 4, right? Or a top 10. Is that the exact?
It's top 4.
Yeah,
it's
top 4. 1% is perfectly balanced. 2% is bad.
Yeah, and it is nearly 2%. And I will say the only reason that their overall over rep is 0.98, which is exactly where you want it, is because their Star Shatter is 1.7, their Awakened Dynasty is 0.9, and all of the others are 0.
Oh boy, that's fun. Oh yeah.
So it just ends perfectly at 0.98 for the average.
Yeah.
Awakened Dynasty has a 10% 4-0 event start rate.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Not broken. Good, though.
But good.
Because the retrospect of that is that Chaos Space Marines Renegade Raiders has a 29% 4-0 start rate, which is insane.
A little busted.
So, anywho, that's some Warhammer math.
Warhammer
Maybe we should do an episode on how to actually read this website for people.
You know what? Stat Check does that. We can do something different.
That's fair.
Speaking of CSM, let's talk about them. Chaos Space Marines had a great weekend overall.
Boy, did they have some changes.
And boy, did they have some changes. Let's talk about them. What were the big changes that you want to mention first?
I'll say it's so weird. I like the changes.
Okay.
I think the changes were necessary.
Okay.
From a rules standpoint, I think they should have also gotten some points increases that I don't believe that they got.
Maybe a few. Maybe.
Which they, didn't get because they didn't get any.
No. Well, I guess the Noise Marines got a point increase.
Okay. They can still bring 12.
I know. It's not even expensive. They'll have to, 150 points for 5?
They're 150 points for 6. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they got an increase, but it wasn't an unplay. It was a very, very fair increase.
Yep. And then who's the new Spotlight unit? Who was it that they brought back to the center?
So we brought back the Lord Discordant, the Disco Lord, the Lord of the Dance.
It's the worst.
Old Michael Flatley himself. Lord of the Dance.
The first time I ran into the Disco Lord in 9th edition was like one of the most painful memories in my game playing experience. And now he's back and he's good again, and I'm terrified.
Yep. We went into 10th edition where he became unplayable.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Just horrendously bad.
And then they just said, you know what? Let's just make him too good again.
Yep. So he got a 14-inch move, which is up from what I believe was a 10.
Yep, something like that.
He got a 4-up invul. Which is amazing.
Sure.
Which, again, it makes perfect sense. He is effectively a Chaos Lord.
He's a character. Cool. Fine. Give him the 4-up. I can deal with that.
His Corrupt Machine Spirit ability completely changed.
Oh, yeah. What's it do now?
It is, start of your shooting phase, you pick a visible enemy vehicle within 12, which is still close. You got to put them out there.
Yeah.
Roll a d6 on a 2 or a 3. They take d3 mortals. On a 4-5, they take flat 3.
And
on a 4-5, they take flat 3. On a 6, they take 3 plus d3.
Yep. That's pretty much all of the mortal abilities, right?
Yeah. On 1, nothing happens. Nothing bad to him. Just nothing happens.
Just no.
And then his Spirit Thief ability put the... it just added the stipulation that it has to be a visible enemy unit, which is perfectly fair. He gained an attack on his melee weapon, so it's 5 attacks now. And then its entire profile changed. I believe it was 622 before. It might have been different. I think that's what it was, because I remember it being not impressive. It is now 833.
Oh, that's it?
Unreal. 5 attacks, weapon skill 2, 833 with Lance.
Oh, with Lance.
Absolutely wild. It had Lance before, but it wasn't good.
Okay.
Now it's strength 8 with Lance, which is good.
Good. Good. That's pretty strong with the 4
Pretty
epic gold
wild.
in there.
Pretty wild. He is phenomenal for his low point cost that did not change. Where are you? There he is. 160 points.
Yeah, so people are bringing 3 of them because he's not a named character.
No, he's not.
He's super fast. He does all the damage, and he has lance. So, yeah, space CSM is looking really good right now as we make our way forward, as we are in the time of chaos. The overall CSM numbers aren't like spectacular, but if you look at the weekend's results, it's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Packbound Zealot 73, Renegade Raiders 67, and then the rest are just about normal, except for Fellhammer, which is forever terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's pretty wild.
It's nuts. Good for CSM.
Yeah. I'm perfectly happy to see it. Like I said, I think that the change was necessary because he was actually unplayable, and I don't want to see that.
Yeah, don't want to see unplayable units, but do want to see some measure. Like,
good God, he is not 160.
Yeah. Make him 180. I don't know.
That yeah. I mean, he's T9 10 wounds. Like,
so he's a Primarch profile. Cool.
And then good. He's mounted. He is not a vehicle.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps, I suppose.
So yeah, maybe make him 180.
Yeah, maybe make him 180 or something, or just make it so bringing 3 feels bad.
Right.
Let's do that. 2, fine. Anyhow, okay. So one of the biggest losers of the entirety of the data slate is the Eldari. Ynnari as a detachment more or less doesn't exist anymore.
They got their pee-pee slapped.
They got dick punched pretty hard. That said, they didn't have a bad, like, they're not having a terrible show of things. In fact, if we look at the numbers for the weekend, they had a 53% win rate. So they're not a dead faction by any means.
No, not at all. It's returning to what Eldar always end up being. Which is like why I'll say it's what Eldar always have been, with the exceptions of the times like beginning of edition or end of edition where they are just egregiously broken, which has happened many times. Even when they are not one of those two things, they are always playable. They are always good. And in the best players' hands, they are always still a very high-performing army, and they are just returning to that.
Yep. And people, they're realizing that the build you want to play is Seer's Council, and it's what the like Fireside podcast has been pushing for literally since the Codex came out.
And it's a sick detachment.
It's a really cool detachment. We've talked about it before ourselves. They're awesome. Like, they're still fine. They're still super playable. Continue playing your Eldari if you love them. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the demons. Mr. Demon. What do you think? How are the demons doing?
Changes are fair.
Yes.
Changes are fair.
Changes are absolutely fair.
We just see a return to demonic incursion, which is pretty fine. I'm not surprised. That is just old faithful. Like, demonic incursion is just generically good, and whenever a change to demons happens and people are unsure of what to do, you just go back to demonic incursion, and then you kind of take the time to figure it out, and that's perfectly fine. And that's where we are. I think Shadow Legion is still very good.
I'm pretty sure Shadow Legion is still the best detachment if you play it the German way, which is Faiththirster, Be'lakor, MSU.
Yeah. And, Faiththirster got more expensive.
Yeah, sure.
He did not get unplayably expensive.
No, he's still fine. You still see him in every Shadow Legion list.
I think he's a very fairly point costed now for what he does. He was point costed enough that he took a unit away from the army.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Are Screamers still the same cost?
They are.
Are Raptors still the same cost? So
Turns
Build's
out
not dead. Matter. It's still perfectly fine. No. And Demon players, if you're abandoning it, you're overreacting.
Calm down. Just keep playing it.
Just put Screamers on the
It literally didn't change. Take a unit of Nurglings out and move on.
Yeah, it's really not that hard, guys.
It's so good. Yeah, it's still very good. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's still really good. I mean, that's it, right? That was the only change was points for them. They didn't get anything rules wise that matters
Nothing
for
relevant.
that.
No.
Right? For me, I think it's funny. The um, Zinch detachment, the +2 strength or spend a token +3 strength +1 AP stratagem was reduced to 1 CP. So now they don't have a 2 CP strat, which is sick.
Yeah, 2 CP strats are a real are a sad time. They make it so you never want to use them really ever, unless you're playing, a
Well, I'm
couple
sorry.
months ago Gladius.
Demons did get one thing that there will be a handful of people that I know listen to us that will be upset if I don't mention it.
Oh, what is it?
We lost Soul Grinders.
Well, that's right. You have bases now.
Not that they went to Legends because they didn't. We just have bases now, and that's lame.
It's a
So
huge problem for
it is a
that model.
160 millimeter base. It is enormous.
It's so bad.
So they're not playable anymore.
No, they have been effectively nerfed.
Except in Zinch, where I can run them through walls.
And you know what? Zinch needs those big heavy boys.
But to be fair, I also took him out of that list because even with a base, I don't want to have to run him through a wall. It was just cute that I could.
Yep. One of the teammates, Kirk, he has spent the last several weeks converting a bunch of soul grinders into like a barnyard demon detachment, and they look incredible. And then they just got slapped. I feel bad for them.
Yep. You lost him. And I don't. Maybe I'm crazy because I don't see it on the balanced data slate itself. But so Nurglings did get more expensive.
Yeah.
And their unit size changed. They cannot be 9 anymore. So they are only 3. They're 3 or 6. It's still cheaper to bring 6, which is fine. But I don't think that they did. Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly. They didn't have a Feel No Pain before, did they?
I don't think so. Last I remember, they had a 5
now.
up invuln. Oh. So
they have a 6 up invul. It's a 6 up invul.
Oh,
but
so
they have
that's what changed.
They have a 6 up invul and a 5 up Feel No Pain. So okay, their points went up by 5. Who cares? They got a Feel No Pain.
So you can bring like 140 wounds that are 6 up, 5 up.
The Shadow Legion list that I wanted to play was 12 Nurglings, which is only 140 points.
That's brutal.
And it has a 5 up Feel No Pain now.
I don't like that.
Like I said, it's not on the data slate. It's not listed on the data slate as a change. So maybe I'm just not remembering correctly and they did have a Feel No Pain, but I don't think they did.
I could have always sworn that it was just they had a 5 up invul.
I'm pretty sure they always had a 6 up invul. And I know that previously their -1 to hit aura had changed because it's not an aura
it used
anymore.
To be an aura, now it's engagement.
Because that's not on here either. Even as a pass change, which is interesting. But yeah. So I don't see it on here.
It seems like that between both of our memories here, I think we just were remembering it incorrectly.
I'm pretty sure that they did not have a Feel No Pain.
Because I remember a 5 up invuln, but you remember the 6 up invuln. So likely it's just both of us misremembering is what I'm going to bank on. Let us know in the comments who was more incorrecter. Thank you.
Who is morest incorrected? Oh, you know what? I bet I know where it's at. I'm silly. I'm going to find it. We can talk about something else, but I'm going to find it.
Sure. As he's looking for the mystery of the Nurglings, we are now going to jump into the forgotten faction, the Sisters. The Sisters who had been nerfed so incredibly, for the last 6 months, they have been a complete no-show. So nerfed, in fact, that even the Sisters podcast, one of my favorite Warhammer podcasts, I don't even play Sisters. I just think they're cool to listen to. Has not been releasing episodes. They released like an in memoriam for like the faction, and then hasn't talked about it since. But their Miracle Dice effects have been changed. They are back to a 50% win rate, which means that they're a healthy faction, and you can run around with the Karotmis detachment and play a pretty good game.
They did get some pretty cool changes. They made them playable again.
Okay.
I think there is a absolutely disgusting combination that you can do in one detachment with the jump cannoness, and it's hilarious.
Well, tell us about it.
Yeah. Okay. So, sisters, right? They're +1 to hit if they're below starting strength. They're +1 to wound below half strength, because that's their army rule.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into the Hallowed Martyrs, which is, sorry, that's not their army rule. The dice is their army rule. The Hallowed Martyrs is the +1 to hit, +1 to wound. We then go to enhancements, and we take through suffering strength, which is +1 attacks, strength, and damage to the bearer's melee weapons. If the bearer has lost 1 or more wounds, it's +2 attacks, strength, and damage. So we put this on the jump cannoness with a halberd.
With lance.
That weapon is 522. So flat, it becomes 622.
Okay.
And then when her unit of Zephyrim dies, and she dies, and you spend 1 CP to revive her with with up to a number of remaining wounds, which you just do 2 instead of her full 3, so she is wounded, then it is 7, 4, 4, or it's strength attacks. So it's 7 attacks, strength 7, damage 4.
That's pretty gross.
With she's got the Space Marine Captain CP reduction, so she stands herself up for free. And then once per battle, which you are not going to do until after you stand her back up, once per battle, she gets +3 attacks and dev wounds.
Ew.
So she becomes 10 attacks with damage 4 dev wounds.
That's pretty intense, man.
It's unreal. And you're doing this for 100 points. She's 75. The enhancement is 25.
This is Army of Faith, I assume?
It's Hallowed Martyrs.
Hallowed Martyrs, okay.
It's so cool. And to go with it, Zephyrim got their ability changed. So yeah, that's pretty sick.
That gives Champions of Faith like a huge boost. Results from the weekend: Army of Faith 67, Champions of Faith 56, and Hallowed Martyrs 39%. So yeah, Sisters of Battle are fine again. So congratulations, Games Workshop, for putting in good corrective buffs that made a faction not overwhelmingly strong. Obviously, the Army of Faith result is a single player, most likely. So don't worry too much about that. Let's talk about a problem. Legit issue in the entirety of the game because of the player population, just the sheer amount of players that you will run into playing this faction, which is Blood Angels. Blood Angels, out of nowhere, got the Necron treatment, where they got a bunch of point buffs for no reason. Blood Angels were fine. Why do you need Sangard at 110 points for 3 dudes that go 1,000,000 miles an hour and hit like a freight train? Doesn't make any sense. So, also Vanguard vets coming down in points make it so you can bring more scary jump pack units with invulns, making all of their detachments better. And that's and they were already fine. They were already one of the best Space Marine detachments out there in general. So,
okay. So it's not a feel no pain. Nurglings do not. I found it just to jump in here really quick. They now have a 5-up invul. They had a 6.
Okay,
that's
all right. Well, now we know.
All right. Anywho,
awesome. So, any thoughts on Blood Angels?
I think Blood Angels are really good.
Yeah, they're great. I don't think
That's
they're
kind of
overpowered.
as easy as it gets. I think they're really good.
Yeah, they're a very good army. They are have been consistently good since their detachment or since their book hit. They got a bunch of new models. It's awesome. You know,
Gorgeous models.
gorgeous
Like,
models.
I mean,
I'm good for them. They didn't need the buffs.
well, Death Company got buffed, and I like that.
It's good. Yeah, no, I'm fine with Death Company getting buffed. I don't think a single person had an issue with that. But when Sengard came down, that's like, why? Why would you do this?
I don't know, because people were only playing 3, and GW wanted to see more.
Doesn't feel correct because every time I played Blood Angels, I ran into 9 of them or 6 of them. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? And this is always the tinfoil hat conspiracy. I heard this 100 times at the event, which was, well, they needed to sell Sengard models.
Sure.
Anyway, speaking of red armies, let's talk about the World Eaters. The World Eaters book came out. What?
Turns out. Yeah, go ahead. No, World Eaters book came out.
World Eaters book came out and everyone shit on it. Everyone was like, this book is trash. World Eaters are dead. Are they dead, Joey?
No, it turns out they're really good. Turns out they're still really good.
What do you think makes them real good? What simple change where somebody just seemed to have a random dice roll to all their shooting units do to change their army so much? What happened?
Weird. Yeah. I mean that's the thing, right? Like that's
it's like somebody came in and took a D4 and said, all right, we're gonna put rapid fire on every gun we have. And just flipped it randomly. It just said number all the way down. If World Eaters get a beat on you, if you run out against World Eaters or present yourself normally against World Eaters, you just get tabled.
Yeah. They do also, I think, they have the best, not I think, flat out, of the god-specific armies, they have the best demon detachment.
Yes.
That detachment is legitimately one of their best ones. I think it's one of the best 2, and it's my favorite. It's so good. The things that it can do, the tricks that it can pull are going to make people from a strategic standpoint. It's going to make people really think about how they're going to deal with that army.
Fun. Look, I'm happy for World Eaters. They've just been like, I have been so nonchalant about playing them the entire edition, and no one should feel that way about an army that you're going up against. Like, so good for them. You do need to play more carefully. You can't just put your whole army out in the middle of nowhere against them anymore, and that is a positive thing. So good for them. It is an army that's playable, and they have cool stuff. For those of you who are like abandoning the faction, shame on you. It's an awesome faction. Don't do that.
Sure, you can feel bad that you have to take 10 berserkers and that their melee damage output is abysmal. That's fine. Stop complaining about that and look at everything else that you actually can do, and you'll be okay.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about vanilla Space Marines real quick. They're fine.
Sure.
They're fine.
They're fine. They're fine.
They're fine. Just keep playing your Space Marines the way you want. You could still play the Gladius detachment and have a few extra points. You can change out a unit to get something cool. Even with Gilliman, even with Calgar, it's still fine. You can still play it.
Maybe you consider not bringing both of them, and you get all kinds of stuff.
You could just bring Gilliman and do a lot of work. You could just bring Calgar and do a lot of work, and that's awesome.
Both of them are good.
Yeah, Ironstorm is still good. Even Anvil Siege Force performed this weekend, but objectively speaking, they are because of the fact that they have such a big player base, it will always not have a huge win rate, but they've got a great overrep. It's around 1%. Even Firestorm is starting to come out and be a reasonable thing to take. So Space Marines are fine. Something promising from the weekend that I saw, a Space Marine adjacent topic here, Black Templars. In my event, Black Templars looked like third, just playing Gladius.
And I was going to say, it wasn't Black Tide, was it?
No, it was just Gladius.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Good.
So Jake Herod took Black Templars, It was Gladius Task Force. He brought Grimaldus, lieutenant with a combi, so a regular lieutenant, a Crusader squad, one Ballistus Dreadnought, two Lancers, Hellblasters, Inceptors, Infiltrator squad, Invader, and a Scout. Like, it's just like the most Gladius list that's ever Gladius before.
It's a Gladius list that also has Grimaldus and Helbricht.
Yeah,
That's
it turns out every faction is playable and pretty good for the most part, unless you're playing Imperial Agents, which rip. Sorry.
And then don't, which, I mean, based on this, nobody is anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the Death Watch. Death Watch didn't get any changes. Death Watch is fine. Good for Death Watch. Elite
really
infantry. Good. If you know how to play it, good for you. Tyranids, everyone's getting ready for the new detachment to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like to actually be playable and for people to have all those models.
Because we're waiting. We need the new Raveners to come out.
Yeah, so we need the new Raveners for that detachment to really go. People are really high on it right now. But that being said, Tyranids had an okay weekend. Not great by any means. Tyranids have just been the most balanced faction of the game for the entirety of the edition. Really don't know what else to say about them.
Yeah, which is really interesting. They have not historically been that, and it's it's nice to see them just be kind of good and have options and exist. So,
yep. Hold on while I mute the Pact Bound server, for it is about to explode.
They're going crazy, man.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so next up, Emperor's Children punched into the dirt. They took, I believe, the triple nerf.
Yes. No. Double?
No. Units didn't get changed. Their points got hit pretty hard.
Points got changed, and that's it. I think it was actually just points.
It was just points.
It's just that their points were already weird, and their lists were basically. I mean, every list was the same because it just kind of had to be. And now they've lost half a unit, so it gets weird.
Yeah, Emperor's Children is in a really tough spot right now in that they only have so many units. In that their army rule is too good. And that makes it so once you find the thing that's too good, which was Coterie of the Conceited, everything else suffers for it because points drop affect everything. So now they have to go and either fix Coterie or fix the other detachments to make them worth playing.
Yeah. Which is that's the thing, right? And they said, I guess the way that they looked at it was, hey, we don't know how to do that, so instead we're just going to change points and make everyone suffer?
I guess so.
Which is, I guess, fine. The one game that I played with them was after the points changes. I have another list that I want to try. It's still the Demon Detachment. I think the Demon Detachment's good.
Okay. I mean, I would like to see it, honestly, but I don't know. And the only one I see ever is Coterie, and I just think, like, okay, just measure it out and hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's still going to be the way that it is. They're just going to have one less unit. So
I do think that they might suffer some, though, with the sheer number of knights that are going to be on the table, because they don't punch up very hard.
Yeah, not super hard. We do. I want to bring this up because I thought that it was hilarious. So Anthony Vanilla and StatCheck were talking about it today, right? They were talking about Imperial Knights. And so, quoting Anthony Vanilla, because somebody on there asked him if Emperor's Children are screwed because Imperial Knights are going to be running 3+ big knights. And he said no, because that just means that we get to play against 3+ big knight players.
That's so rude.
So that's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
It's great. Yeah. So I don't know. They will definitely suffer from it.
Yeah.
There's only so much that they can do.
Yeah.
Maybe we see Mauler Fiends.
Probably. I think that's what most people have been talking about, is bringing in Mauler Fiends to deal with the big threats. And I think that's good because the list felt so granular, or felt not granular, but like similar, where it's just like 3 demon princes and this and that. It's just like,
it was, are you 3 demon princes or are you 2 demon princes and 2 brigands?
Yeah.
Like,
and
great.
maybe guys, maybe try to make your other units work, because I'm still convinced that the blades are good. I'm
I
probably
haven't
wrong.
tried them yet. I do want to because I do really like them. But in Fractors, the scouting ones,
Yeah.
they're insane.
Yeah.
Like out of the game that I played, they were by far the most with a Lord Exultant. Like they were the most consistent performing unit. They were insane.
Awesome.
So I mean, they're assault intercessors. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, I think people will figure it out. Like, they're not dead. They're a little more expensive, and they have such a good army rule that like they can't not be good. So figure it out, players. Just stop leaning on John for everything.
Or just wait for him to figure it out, and then you can just copy his next list.
Yeah, or do that. That's fine too.
So
let's get into a boring one. The Custodes, who received no changes, I believe. I think maybe a couple minor points changes, but like
I don't think they received any changes.
Yeah, they're fine.
I don't think they also didn't receive any win percentage changes.
Yeah.
They're the army that they have been.
Yep. They're just there. They're good.
Yeah.
They're not perfect. You have some players who are awesome with them and a lot of players who suck with them, and that's normal.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of no changes, Gene Stealer Colts.
Heyo.
Gene Stealer Colts have been suffering from the shifts that the meta is going through with so much melee on the board now. They're just getting outshined. I don't know if there's any real opportunities for them to be better because I just don't know the army well enough.
Right. And that is one of the same. Like that's one of the armies that I just don't have the knowledge on. I would like to. I just don't. And I think it's just gonna keep being one of those things that like people will play them because they like them and they own them, and most of those people will suffer, and you will still have the handful of diehards who are phenomenal with the army and they will still perform well, but they are going to suffer against a lot of what is coming.
Speaking of no changes again, but soon to be changes, we have the Space Wolves. Space Wolves are rocking up in the low 40s as far as like overall win percentage, but we're waiting for a book. And once Iron Priests hit the table, watch out.
Yeah, like right now, I don't think we need to talk about what they're doing because they're about to get a complete overwork. So.
Yeah, we'll get into it next week. I have the book. I'm looking into it. We'll figure it out. A change that so what's really fun is we'll talk about Dark Angels next as a whole. Obviously, I'm playing in Dark Angels right now. The one person who played Company of Hunters this weekend was at my tournament, and he went 5-1. His list is awesome, and I am so happy that it is performing well. It's awesome. I'm so stoked to see that the bike detachment of all the detachments is really killed it this weekend. Beyond that, another kind of feels good for me is that I was like one of very few players who went 4 wins this weekend with Wrath of the Rock.
Nice.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Otherwise, pretty low win rates across the board. It's right in the middle. Most people want to play these like very fluffy Dark Angels lists, or they're just listening to like whatever Art of War told them to do, and they just don't know why Art of War told them to do that most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the Wrath of the Rock players at my event, there was one other person at my event who had 4 wins. The rest of them went like 2 or 3 wins. So Dark Angels, they're fine. The detachment is good. You just got to figure out how to play it. Orcs are fine.
Yep. No real changes for them.
No real notes to discuss. Like they were nerfed a little bit, I think.
That was a while ago.
Was it?
That was the last one, not this one.
Gotcha. It's mostly it just seems like faction abandonment at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. Let's just kind of run through the last bit here. Adeptus Mechanicus. There was one menace at my tournament who beat a bunch of people who were like, I don't understand why. It's a boring way to play Warhammer. There are just so many dudes, and they're just unfun to play against. I'm sorry, Austin, if you listen to this. I don't like your faction.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Then we have Guard.
Still kind of suffering, not really doing anything.
I think it feels like just everyone stopped playing guard because
Yeah.
if we're looking at the weekend numbers, I think there was 28 total players for what is generally one of the
Yeah.
most beloved factions in the game.
Right.
So all of
Yeah,
the
so
really
they're
good players stopped.
just not playing them. Same with Chaos Knights. It's just people not playing them, waiting for that book to come out.
Once that book hits, it's going to get scary.
Yep.
It's a good
surprise. Drukhari. Drukhari suck.
Yeah. Yeah, Drakari's so bad.
They're bad. They suck.
Yeah.
They're the second
bad,
worst army in the game.
They don't. There's definitely no chance of Reaper's Wager coming in and just shattering people.
Nope. Second worst army in the game.
Nobody plays Drukhari because
nobody. I'll see you at Tacoma. One other Drukhari player. Which one of us will get best in faction?
I'm going to be amongst like 800 other people playing Dark Angels.
Get wrecked, nerd.
And then finally, the Imperial agents aren't a real faction.
No, they
just
don't exist.
There for souping into Imperial armies.
Yeah, you can ignore them.
Yep.
They're not real.
And so with that, I think that kind of covers everything that we wanted to talk about this week as far as like where the armies are, how the data slate affected them, and where the meta kind of is right now in this very like budding zone. We'll see if bikes continue to be like an interesting pick. We'll see if, we actually get some like emergency changes to a faction or two. Let's see if Leagues of Votann can hang on to this top spot that they have miraculously found themselves in.
Right. And it's one of those interesting things, right? We're going to see the climb of both knights, and theoretically Votann are poised to just not care about that.
Yeah, just continue playing Warhammer as Warhammer and potentially get a major release with their codex this year. That is the prevailing theory that I keep hearing, is that they're going to get like a huge amount of units, much like what happened with the Sisters last edition.
We can hope. I think that
it
would be nice to see their range increased.
Yeah, I want to see them with a Dreadnought equivalent. I want to see them with a cool flyer.
I want to see them with a jump pack unit.
Yeah, and a jump pack unit, because they have the models. They're already there.
They have one.
Yeah, I have one.
That really pissed everybody off. And the first kill team got one dude, and you're like, really?
Come on, man.
So you're willing to design it, but you're not willing to actually give it to me?
Nope, absolutely not. So hoping for them, but we'll see how it goes. We didn't talk about Grey Knights because Grey Knights only got like a 10-point decrease on Terminators, and no one cares about that.
Yeah.
If we missed your faction, I'm sorry. We're just kind of reading. So that being said, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate the fact that you stuck it out with us for as long as you have.
Yes.
If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you want to hear about anything or have any requests for us to discuss anything along the way, let us know. Share us with your friends. But most of all, get out there and put some armies on the table. I'm Jeremy, all day 40K Nakano, and this is Joey.
Bettingfield Painting on Instagram.
Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll catch you the next time.
See you around.